This is a practice test for digital SAT reading and writing. Subtopic craft and structure. This is an advanced level test. 10 questions. Let's see what we've got. Close analysis of the painting Girl with a Flute, long attributed to the 17th century Dutch painter Johann Vermeer, has revealed subtle deviations from the artist's signature techniques. These variations suggest that the work may be that of a student under Vermeer's tutelage, potentially blank our understanding of Vermeer as a solitary artist. A logical, precise phrase, possibly negating our understanding. Entrenching doesn't make sense. Substantiating doesn't make sense because we're talking about a second artist. Prefiguring doesn't make sense. So we got to go A. According to Indian economist and sociologist Radhakamal Mukherjee, the Eurocentric concepts that informed early 20th century social scientific methods, for example, the idea that all social relations are reducible to struggles between individuals, had little relevance for India. Making the social sciences more responsive to Indians' needs, Mukherjee argued, required constructing analytical categories informed by India's cultural and ecological circumstances. Mukherjee thus proposed the communalist Indian village as the ideal model on which to base Indian economic and social policy, which choice best describes the overall structure of the text. The text recounts Mukherjee's early training, blah, blah. No, that's not right. B, the text explains an influential economic theory and then demonstrates how that theory was more important to Mukherjee's work. No, it explains no, not an economic theory. It's not even an economic theory, is it? Is it social science? So no, B, no. The text presents Mukherjee's critique of the social sciences and then provides an example of his attempts to address issues he identified in his critique. Yes, I don't even want to read D. C is exactly right. All right, text 1. In 1916, H. Dugdale Sykes disputed claims that The Two Noble Kinsmen was co-authored by William Shakespeare and John Fletcher. Sykes felt Fletcher's contributions to the play were obvious. Fletcher had a distinct style in his other plays, so much so that lines with that style were considered sufficient evidence of Fletcher's authorship. But for the lines not deemed to be by Fletcher, Sykes felt that their depiction of women indicated that their author was not Shakespeare, but Philip Massinger. Text 2. Scholars have accepted The Two Noble Kinsmen as co-authored by Shakespeare since the 1970s. It appears in all major one-volume editions of Shakespeare's complete works. Though scholars disagree about who wrote what exactly, it is generally held that on the basis of style, Shakespeare wrote all of the first act, most of the last, while John Fletcher authored most of the three middle acts. But based on the texts, both Sykes in text 1 and the scholars in text 2 would most likely agree with which statement? Well, it seems like they agree about Fletcher. Two Noble Kinsmen belongs in one-volume compilations of Shakespeare's complete plays. No, the guy in text 1 wouldn't agree with that. B, John Fletcher's writing has a unique, readily identifiable style. Yeah, that's possible. C, Philip Massinger. C and D are talking about Philip Massinger, and the second text doesn't say anything about Philip Massinger. So we got to rule out C and D and go with B. Some foraging models predict that the distance bees travel when foraging will decline as floral density increases. But biologists Shailene Jha and Claire Kremen showed the bees' behavior is inconsistent with this prediction if flowers in dense patches are blank. Bees will forage beyond patches of low species richness to acquire multiple resource types. Okay, so what they're saying is if, what is it? Floral density. You can have a lot of floral density, but if they're all the same kind of flowers, then the bees will go further to acquire multiple resource types. So flowers in dense patches are homogeneous is what we're looking for. They will bypass those to get multiple resource types. Space scientists Annalisa Paul, Stephen M. Alardo, and Robert Furl planted seeds of Arabidopsis thaliana in samples of lunar regolith, the surface material of the moon, and serving as a control group in terrestrial soil. They found that while all the seeds germinated, the roots of the regolith-grown plants were stunted compared with those in the control group. Moreover, unlike the plants in the control group, the regolith-grown plants exhibited red pigmentation, reduced leaf size, inhibited growth rates, indicators of stress that were corroborated by post-harvest molecular analysis, which choice best states the main purpose of the text. A discusses the findings of a study that evaluated the effects of exposing a plant species to lunar soil conditions. It's not a bad answer. Presents evidence in support of the hypothesis that seed germination in lunar habitats is an unattainable goal. No, doesn't go that far. C, it describes an experiment that addressed an unresolved question about the extent to which lunar regolith resembles terrestrial soils. I don't know that that's what they were trying to address. It doesn't really say that that's what they were trying to address. It compares two distinct methods of assessing indicators of stress. I don't even understand the stress part of it. Why stress? The plants are stressed by the soil, or I don't know. I mean, it does. It does, but that's D. Yes, but that's not the main point. So now we're down to A or C. I don't know. To me, A is really the closer one. Text 1. Despite its beautiful prose, The Guns of August, Barbara Tuchman's 1962 analysis of the start of World War I has certain weaknesses as a work of history. It fails to address events in Eastern Europe just before the outbreak of hostilities, thereby giving the impression that Germany was the war's principal instigator. Had Tuchman consulted secondary works available to her by scholars such as Luigi Albertini, she would not have neglected the influence of events in Eastern Europe on Germany's actions. Okay. Text 2, Barbara Tuchman's The Guns of August is an engrossing, if dated, introduction to World War I. Tuchman's analysis of primary documents is laudable, but her main thesis that European powers committed themselves to a catastrophic outcome by refusing to deviate from military plans developed prior to the conflict is implausibly reductive, which choice best described a difference in how the two authors view The Guns of August. Author of Text 1 believes that the scope of Tuchman's research led her to an incorrect interpretation, while the author of Text 2 believes that Tuchman's central argument is overly simplistic. I have to say that sounds exactly right. But let's see what else we have. The author of text 1 argues that Tuckman should have relied more on the work of other historians. Yes. Author of text 2 implies that the most interesting claims are from original research. No. Author of text 1 asserts that the writing style of the Guns of August make it worthwhile to read. No. D. Author of text 1 claims that Tuckman would agree that World War I was largely due to events in Eastern Europe. No, that's actually the opposite of what text 1 said. So we are back at A. I think that's the best one. In Jane Austen's novel Mansfield Park, an almost imperceptible smile from a potential suitor, Henry Crawford, causes the protagonist, Fanny Price, to blush. Her embarrassment grows when she suspects that he is aware of it. This moment, in which Fanny not only infers Henry's mental state through his gestures, but also infers that he is drawing inferences about her mental state, illustrates what scholar George Butte calls deep intersubjectivity, a technique for representing interactions between consciousnesses through which Austen's novels derive much of their social and psychological drama. What choice best describes the function of the underlined sentence? Okay, just the underlined sentence. Advances an interpretation of a protagonist contrasted with other protagonists. No. Provides a synopsis of an interaction in an Austen novel that illustrates a literary concept discussed in the following sentence. Yes, the concept of deep intersubjectivity. It describes a recurring theme in Austen's novels that is the focus of a literary scholar's analysis. Well, it does sort of say it's a recurring theme. Austen's novels derive much of their social and psychological drama, but that's not in the first sentence. So, no, I wouldn't say the first sentence describes a recurring theme. D, it states a claim about Austen's skill. No. So where are we? B, synopsis of an interaction illustrates a concept in the following sentence. In the early 20th century, Constantine Brancusi's sculpture Bird in Space sparked considerable debate about the definition of art. Tax authorities argued in court that the abstract sculpture, which featured a long, sleek form without any identifiable features, should not be classified as art. Brancusi ultimately won the case, but the legal battle highlighted the blank dividing line between art and manufactured object. I guess it's going to be something like the thin dividing line, something of that nature. Tenuous would be the best choice. Text 1. The idea that time moves in only one direction is instinctively understood, yet it puzzles physicists. According to the second law of thermodynamics, at a macroscopic level, some processes of heat transfer are irreversible due to the production of entropy. After a transfer, we cannot rewind time and place molecules back exactly where they were before, just as we cannot unbreak dropped eggs. But laws of physics at a microscopic or quantum level hold that these processes should be reversible. Text 2. In 2015, physicist Tiago Batalhau and others performed an experiment in which they confirmed the irreversibility of thermodynamic processes at a quantum level, producing entropy by applying a rapidly oscillating magnetic field to a system of carbon-13 atoms in liquid chloroform. But the experiment, quote, does not pinpoint what causes irreversibility at the microscopic level, co-author Mauro Paternostro said. Based on the texts, what would the author of text 1 most likely say about the experiment described in text 2? Answer A, it is consistent with the current understanding of physics at a microscopic but not a macroscopic level. No. B, it provides empirical evidence that the current understanding of an aspect of physics at a microscopic level must be incomplete. Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. The way they phrase it here is that they confirmed that thermodynamic processes at a quantum level are irreversible, but they couldn't say why. Yeah, current understanding is incomplete. Supports a claim about an isolated system of atoms in a laboratory, but that claim should not be extrapolated. No. Would suggest an interesting direction for future research, except that two of the physicists disagree on the significance of its findings. No. So, yeah, I mean, the only one that really makes sense here is B. As a poet, essayist, and novelist, Ocean Vuong often explores blank themes in his work, including memory and trauma. His debut novel, I thought Ocean was a woman's name. His debut novel, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, is presented as a series of deeply personal letters written by a son to his mother, and was described by the New York Times as brimming with longing and tenderness. So what kind of themes does he explore in his work? I mean, the only one that seems to make sense there is intimate, not frivolous, pretentious, conformist. None of those make sense. Let's go with B. All right. So we're 10 out of 10. That's, what was this one called again? It's reading and writing, craft and structure. Update on craft and structure. And hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and see you next time.